I may have a problem.
Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody that everybody's dead.
Hello internet, it is me, Psycho Content. Yes, I know, I'm not waiting a month to post another video. What? But anyway, since we're still in the month of spooky, I really wanted to talk about something I genuinely love, and that is the Resident Evil series. Now, I've only started playing the Resident Evil series back in 2017 when Resident Evil 7 came out, and that's mostly because this game was a banger and I loved it. I started the series with Resident Evil 7, which I knew most stuff about the series. I knew about Chris, Jill, Barry Burton.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Barry motherfucking Burton.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
But yeah. Besides that, I never really got into the games. Well, I didn't really play the games per se. The most I've ever played was some Resident Evil 4 at a cousin's house, but besides that, never really bought the games, never really played them. So back in 2017, I had the choice of either saving up for the Nintendo Switch or buying Resident Evil 7. I bought Resident Evil 7. But my parents also got me the Nintendo Switch later on that year. So ever since then, I have fallen in love with the series. I've beaten pretty much every game in my collection, except for the Dark Side Chronicles and the Umbrella Chronicles, which I think that's understandable. So yeah, this is just going to be me going through the games and telling you my thoughts, and I will be talking about the movies too. So yeah, this is just my thoughts on each game in the Resident Evil series, so let's go. So I guess I should start with the first game, which I only have the Resident Evil Origins collection, which comes with Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. So my thoughts on the first game were, I was very put off by the camera angles. I knew they were a thing, but it was just like a weird thing to get used to, especially if you were doing just full-on analog control and not tank controls. But the game was still pretty terrifying. I thought I wouldn't be scared by it because I played Resident Evil 7, and Resident Evil 7, in my opinion, is a scarier game than Resident Evil 1, but it still was pretty good. It had some pretty good scares, and I loved my time with it. And for Resident Evil 0, it was a fun side game, I thought. It's not really necessary. I wouldn't say it's very necessary to understand the lore of Resident Evil. Like, you fight off the main guy who made the T-virus, and that's about it. But yeah, with Resident Evil 0, there wasn't really too much new added to the lore. It's most stuff that we kind of had known before, but it was still a pretty fun game. So that was my thoughts on Resident Evil 1 and 0. Now, I don't have the case with me because I let a few friends borrow it, but I have recently gone through and beaten Resident Evil 2 Remake, and my god, that is such a perfect game. I love the RE2 Remake so much. Playing that game, I love you could chew on the atmosphere. It was that thick in that game. So yeah, I love that game, and yeah, I don't have the box here, but sorry. I have not played Resident Evil 3, but I have played and beaten Resident Evil 4. Now, Resident Evil 4 was the start of the goofy age of Resident Evil. From now on, the games became less about horror and more just about action. But Resident Evil 4 did a very good job at mixing the action and the horror at the same time, and it made for a very fun, cheesy action game. I love Leon's quips in these games, and Leon's my favorite character. That was my thoughts on Resident Evil 4. Next up in the chronological timeline is Resident Evil Revelations, and again, like RE0, fun side game. It takes place between 4 and 5 and tells you a journey that Jill and Chris had between those games. So yeah, pretty fun game. Next game I've played, but I haven't beaten yet, is Resident Evil 5. My god, does this game have the epitome of what is called the piss filter. Like, that's not even a joke. Like, look, that's everything looks like it's been through a filter of piss. Anyway, Resident Evil 5 is not my favorite, as you could probably tell. It was just too monotonous. Like, it was very repetitive. It was very repetitive, and I just didn't really like. I don't know. It didn't really capture like what I've like. It didn't really have that essence of Resident Evil, if that makes sense. So, yeah, not a good game in the Resident Evil series, I'd say. Now, this wouldn't be a video of mine if I didn't have a controversial opinion. Resident Evil 6 is actually pretty good. Now, for a Resident Evil game, yeah, it sucks. But for just a game, I've played worse. Like, the QuickTime events can be a little bit annoying, but I did enjoy playing as Leon and Chris again, and seeing those two stories interconnect in a way that I thought was pretty satisfying. Resident Evil 6, I can definitely see where most people come from when they say they don't like this game too much, but I thought it was a pretty good game. Well, back to Resident Evil 7, and you know what? I am biased. I am biased on this game a whole lot when I say this is the best Resident Evil game I've ever played. Again, it combines like all the things that I love about Resident Evil, just like the claustrophobic corridors of the first Resident Evil in the mansion and the thick atmosphere in Resident Evil 2. They all just come together in this game, and I just love it so much. That's my opinion on Resident Evil 7. Now for all the movies. I'm going to start with the CGI ones first, and then go on to the live action. Because, oh boy, the live action. The CG movies were very good. I was surprised on I was very shocked on how well these were made. D-Generation didn't have the best looking CG. The character models something about the character models in that movie was just but besides that, the rest of the movies I loved, even Vendetta, which most people don't really like. So yeah, if you were able to find this 3 movie collection, buy it. It is very well worth the value that it's at. So for those of you who know my second channel, you have seen the unwrapping of this, because it only came in the plastic wrap. The Resident Evil movies with Milla Jovovich. Nothing against her. I have nothing against her. Funny story, when I opened the Blu-rays for this, the movies were like out of order. Like, it went from Resident Evil to Apocalypse, and I believe it went from Apocalypse to Retribution, then Afterlife, then Extinction, then the final chapter. Like for the disc order, and that's just such a weird way to put these in. Not to mention that I paid full fucking price for these movies. I will say the first 3 are pretty good. I didn't really care that much for the story in the third movie. I feel like when you put Resident Evil into Apocalypse mode, like you're going through like a zombie wasteland, it just loses its uniqueness. Because Resident Evil is the one story that I can think of that doesn't end up in an apocalypse scenario. Sure, there's a few close calls, but it's mostly just a normal world with several instances of outbreaks. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of these, but I say the first 2 are good to watch. So, yeah. Anyway, those were my thoughts on the Resident Evil series. If you want to tell me your thoughts on the comics below, please do that. I love to hear your opinion. So again, it's been me, Psycho Content, and I'll see you later, patience. Jeff's not here to critique my words this time. Wonder what happened to him.